Hi, my name's Celeste Kirby-Brown, and today I am with Kelly Brown, the Director of Recovery Partners. Thanks for joining us today, Kelly.
Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Could you please tell us a little bit about what you do in your business?
Certainly. At Recovery Partners, we help companies save money in two main ways. The first being through their workers' compensation premiums, and secondly by developing OHS systems to prevent injuries from occurring. We work with companies from all different industries across Australia and New Zealand, and typically our ideal client will have between 20 and 1,000 employees.
Okay, great. Can you tell us a bit about the potential financial impact on businesses?
Definitely. There's two ways that workplace safety financially impacts companies. The first is through their workers' compensation premium, and the second is through OHS penalties. So each state has their own OHS legislation, and there are penalties for breaching those obligations for companies. So for the actual company, the maximum penalty is $550,000, and for individuals being the directors and managers of those companies, the maximum penalty is $55,000 and or 2 years in jail. So although people may not have heard of those penalties before, we monitor prosecutions throughout Australia, and it's not unusual for us to see 3 or 4 penalties being handed down every single day.
Wow, okay, now I'm a little bit scared. Can you tell me a little bit more about workers' comp?
Definitely. Workers' compensation is the only compulsory insurance in Australia. It's affected mainly by the wages that the employer pays and also their claims experience. A thing that most companies don't realise is that workers' compensation can also potentially cover contractors in their workplace.
Okay, I think that's a point that a lot of our principals would be really interested in. Can you give some tips on managing contractors?
Definitely. With the management of contractors, we advise all our clients to obtain certificates of currency for their subcontractors, for public liability, professional indemnity if it's applicable, and workers' compensation. With workers' compensation, sole traders and partnerships without employees are not eligible to take out a workers' comp policy. So if they are doing a fair amount of work for our clients, we suggest that they cover those people under their own workers' comp policy. It's easy done, and failure to do that can lead to penalties.
Okay, so just talking a little bit more about the penalties, well, potentially what's the duty of an employer to the people in their workplace?
All employers have a duty of care to not only their employees but others that come into the workplace, and that duty applies whether they have 1 employee or 1,000 employees. The duty of care has been interpreted very broadly by the courts across Australia, and to give you an example, many employers think that their duty of care exists only when their employee is on their premises, but it doesn't. It extends to the employee getting to and from work safely. So that doesn't mean that employers have to suddenly provide cab charges to their employees for going home, but it may mean that they may have to implement a buddy system where 2 people need to walk to the car park together and the area needs to be well lit. So
okay.
the duty of care is very broad.
That's a really good tip too. Can you tell us a little bit more about how a small business owner might minimise the financial impact on their business?
In our experience, we find that many companies become overwhelmed with workers' comp and OHS and get rather intimidated because of the large penalties. But what we say to them is that it should be managed like any other aspect of their business. So they should start by developing a policy and then plan what needs to be done. There's information available from the state authorities in each of the different states, and generally that information is very useful, and importantly it's free. There's also information potentially available from industry associations, and in some cases the employer will need to engage specialised consultants like ourselves.
Okay, so that's if they've got really particular issues in their business or it is quite a large business.
That's right. Any information that they obtain from the state authorities or from industry associations will be generic, and they will need to adapt it specifically for their organisation.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Kelly. And you were telling me that you've got a special offer today for Ezypay principals.
We do. We'd like to offer the first 3 principals that contact us via our website, which is www.rrp.com.au, a complimentary workers' comp and OHS assessment. So we'll be happy to offer that to the first 3, and that will entail a review of their workers' comp and OHS systems, and will provide advice on what they need to do moving forward.
Excellent. That's an awesome offer. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for coming in today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Not a problem.